Welcome to the Carl Jackson Podcast. I'm excited and delighted that you guys are watching us today on CJC Network and now on the Grid Network, because we've been playing reruns on the Grid Network, on Plex and some of the other platforms that we're on. So I want to say thank you guys for watching us every week. Today we have a special guest. He's been here three times. This is his third time. No, this is your fourth time. Fourth time,
do I
man.
get like an award?
And you're gonna get an award. It's called People Gonna Watch This Podcast.
Good.
We're in his home in, can we say where we at?
We're in Orange County.
We'll just say Orange County, right? Orange County, and it's a beautiful home. And what's up, man? How you doing, brother?
What's up, bro?
Dude, Brandon Crouch Jr.
Yeah.
Or actually just Brandon Crouch.
This is our first time meeting in person. Yeah, doing it in person. I was like, I'm not going to do it unless you come up to my house.
So this was what he said. I said, let's do another podcast. And he says, you got to come. Well, we were going to do it in the studio.
Yeah.
And then last second, he's like, you know what? Let's just come to my house and let's kick it for a minute. So how you been doing, brother?
Good, man. Staying busy. Life's good. Got my kid. That's about it.
So you have been working a lot as a director. What has that been like for you?
I have, man. It's been great. I mean, it kind of all started, I hate to say this, with Hillsong back in 2016, 17. They mistakenly thought I was a video director, and I said yes. I learned how to direct video pretty quickly. Not mistaken. They knew I did video, but I wasn't known as a video director.
Right.
And although I had all the skills and I kind of had all the chops to do it, so I just kind of had to cut my teeth on it. But yeah, so did a tour with them for 3 months and on and off buses and did the whole thing. And then word gets out quick and people start to realize, oh man, that's Hillsong's video director, blah, blah, blah. And I was just a contracted guy. And next thing I know it, people are calling and emailing, hey, come direct video for us. So we've directed video for Mariners and Cottonwood Church and a bunch of corporate stuff and different things like that, and so it's been good.
So what's your favorite thing to direct? Is it, do you consider yourself a content director? Do you consider yourself a film director? How do you, or is that even a thing anymore?
There's two different
old school of saying director.
There's two different worlds of directing. There's live event directing, or like live broadcast TV directing, which is what I was doing. I was the video director at the Greek Theater for a number of years, so I've done every band that you could think of. And that's a whole different skill set than like a film director, because in a film world, you're really only directing one camera. In a live event world, you're directing five, and it's live, and it's right there. You don't retake it. You're live, you're live. So where my sweet spot really is live event directing, and I love it, but it's not an easy.
It's tedious.
It's tedious because you have to be 3 to 5 steps ahead of where you're going to go with the different camera angles and different things like that, and so you're kind of like having to pat your head and rub your belly at the same time.
Right.
And it's not easy. So it's an acquired skill. I always say the best video directors or live event video directors are the guys who started as a grip, then ran camera, and kind of have a general wherewithal of all of the gear that they're using. Right. So they've been a camera operator, they've been a grip, they've been through all the different stages of what that production aspect is. So when you get to the chair of being the director, you're not asking some camera operator to do something that the gear won't itself do. So if you're asking some guy to zoom in to 200 millimeters and you don't know enough about the gear because you never worked with that gear, so I feel like if you're gonna direct, you kind of have to work your way through the process. You have to know the gear. You have to know what it can and can't do. You have to know what your operators can do, and I also think there's a bit of skill in just being able to communicate
with people, right?
And that more overlaps into film directing as well, is being able to communicate. And I feel like it's okay to not be a good communicator. If you're not a good communicator, that's not a bad thing.
Right.
But it takes a certain type of personality or type of person who can clearly communicate, in a very rapid, fast, things are moving past your head, and you have to be able to communicate quickly.
Right.
and I don't know if that's a teachable skill.
Right.
I think that's a skill that, that some people are born with and some people aren't. And some of the best live event video directors that I've run into are really good communicators.
Right.
And so I think that I was blessed in that area, and I was blessed to be able to communicate really well. And it's fun. I love it.
So what is the hardest thing about being a live director? I've never done live. I tried it a couple times.
It's hard,
I just could not do
right?
it.
It's hard.
What's crazy is I'm trained for film.
Yeah.
And you think because you're a filmmaker, you can do anything, and that's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard. It's an acquired skill.
Right.
Takes practice. The hardest part about it, I think, is two things: client expectations.
Right.
Is making sure that you're giving them a product that they expect. So that's huge. Managing client expectations.
Right.
A lot of clients will hire you but won't give you the right gear to do the job. Hello.
Yeah, I know that one all too well.
And so you want to manage clients' expectations, and then I think too is just managing personalities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're working with a team. You have sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6 camera operators. You have a guy that's coloring your cameras, and so just kind of being the director of a team can be difficult. I mean, you're just dealing with people, and people are people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but I think when you get to the place of like where you feel like an accomplished director, which is where I feel like I'm at, like it's not necessarily hard anymore. It's more just I'm the pilot who is there in case the plane wants to crash, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So directing it isn't necessarily hard, but if something goes wrong, I know what to do when something goes wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I'm engineering enough to know how to fix things quickly, fix things on the fly, make changes quickly, pivot, do different things. And so I think that is the hardest part about being the director. And the reality is the whole show's responsibility is on your shoulders.
Right.
So if you miss the smallest little details,
it's on you.
It's on you.
Right.
It's not, today, actually, I was the camera operator and I had zero care in the world because I was just the camera operator. I'm there to run camera, but the show isn't on my shoulders, but it's on the video director's shoulders.
Right.
So when this show in particular that I was on this morning went bad, I kind of did this because it's like, this isn't my show. I didn't put it together. I didn't direct it. But had I directed it, I would have put a lot more detail into the areas that failed.
Right. Live directing is also about knowing, I guess, also the band that you're, filming or whatever. Do you have a certain list of tricks, like for certain type of music versus like?
It's art. Mm-hmm. So everybody's going to have their different flair for it. Right. Everybody's going to do their different thing. I've done some really crazy things. One guy showed this to me. It was really cool. He took an old DSLR camera that had and some of those cameras have like a black and white setting that you can shoot video in black and white, or you can shoot in sepia, which you would never use because you can do that in post-production, right? Well, he wanted to do it live, but he wanted that you remember that old school MTV delay where you would shoot something and then the person's head would kind of like move off like that? He wanted to do that live.
Right.
And so what he did is he set up this DSLR and he shot it at a monitor of the program feed, which is what you're actually cutting.
Right.
And then he set the DSLR into a sepia mode and then ran the DSLR into the switcher, and he was shooting a shot of the shot, if that makes sense.
Right.
So it was a picture of a picture, or
like a generic version of 3D almost.
Yeah, and so we were shooting this, this concert, and a lot of the shots that were coming out were in sepia 1, which was way different than some of the other shots, and it had that really cool delayed effect. And so anyway, I mean, I think rehearse if you can, and we normally
the whole show,
100%.
Wow.
Yeah, if we're gonna do a show right, we're rehearsing the show.
Wow.
100%. So I know when drum hits are hitting, and I'm directing music to the beat of the drum. So I mean, I'm going when I'm directing, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, and changing cameras. 1, 2, 3, 4, change. 1, 2, 3, 4, change. And I'm directing it to the beat of the music. So if it's a slower song, we're kind of dissolving and we're doing different things. We're different moves. We're rack focusing off people or moving into people. And if it's a faster song, we're cutting like on beats.
Right.
And that's what makes a director really good, especially in music.
Right.
Is you're able to direct to the beat of the music.
Right. Okay.
And so, and then if you're doing talking head talking head stuff, and it's a live talking head thing, you're able to predict when someone's sentence is going to end.
Right.
And so if someone's preaching and you're a video director at a church, and you're directing video and you think it's kind of monotonous that you're shooting one guy standing up preaching, it is, but there's still skill involved in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any kid can get in there and just punch buttons and think that he's a video director, but it really takes a skill to be able to anticipate the laugh. If people in the audience are going to laugh, so you can cut to a wide shot or cut to, because you never want to cut a camera mid someone's sentence speaking. Right. It's just awkward.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of like little minute things that I do that I've acquired over the years that maybe a younger or newer director wouldn't do. But it's important. I mean, the details matter, and I've learned those things over the years of directing that I have on how to anticipate laugh, how to anticipate someone's sentence ending and being able to cut in between them starting the next sentence. Right. There's just lots and lots of little things, and I haven't even learned all of them. I mean, there's just tons of things that you should keep picking up.
So did your live stuff come from your background, or is it just something you picked up on your own, just doing your thing?
I worked through the ranks, bro.
Right.
I mean, I was a kid on TV and sets, 13 years old, pulling cable, and literally pulling cable. I was not, my family did not believe in the, you're a Crouch, so we're better. We're going to give you something. We're going to have a golden spoon in your mouth. Right. My family was earn it. Yeah, prove it to me. Right. And so we started literally pulling cable, and
you was like a trash man. Huh?
Dude, we were picking up trash. We were cleaning the floors. I was the toothbrush on the bathroom. On the toilet.
Wow.
That kind of stuff. And then that turned into me running camera. And then running camera, I'd run all the cameras. I'd run the jib, and then I'd be the handheld guy, and then I'd be the center guy, and I'd then do the slider, and so I just worked with all the cameras, and then. And then I learned from one of the guys how to color shade the camera. So I'd white balance the cameras and color them and iris them and black balance and all the things. And so I learned all that. And so I just was able to really wrap my brain around the entire process of production, what it takes to do the entire thing. And I maybe wasn't the best colorist, but I knew how to do it. Or maybe I wasn't the best tight follow camera, but I knew what he was dealing with, so that when he needed a bathroom break or he bumped the camera or whatever, I knew what was going on as the director, so I could direct him the best to his ability and make sure that we had the best show, because I knew what all was going on outside of, just sitting in a black.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Have you ever wanted to direct film?
I do, yeah. So I've directed some commercials. I've directed some music videos.
But live is still your favorite?
I love live. I don't know. Really? I just have it's a unique skill set that I have, and I know, and people like to do what they're good at, right? So if you're good at whatever, you like to do those things. And I know that I'm a good video director, so I like to do it. And I actually do like directing film. I do. It's fun. I love it. I just feel like I don't know enough about it to really say, oh, I'm going to go direct this film.
Okay.
And I guess for me,
And live, you can probably make quicker money doing live, because that skill set is such a small group of people that can actually do that.
Yeah, my bread and butter is doing live. I feel like if I really wanted to jump into films, I would really have to do 2 or 3 years of just short film video directing.
Right.
And really cut my teeth on film directing,
and then finding your style,
and my style and where I'm good at, and kind of where my lane is. You know what I mean? And I think that's so important for people. And there's nothing wrong in jumping into something, because that's where you start. And I have had opportunities to direct different things from a film standpoint, and I've done very well with them, and they've come out great, and I'm super happy with them. But like I don't know, just film directing just seems like a whole nother like animal that like I haven't really really wrapped my brain around, and I feel like, you know, that I'm still young, like there's plenty of time to do all that. So.
Right. What was your favorite band to direct? Because you've had everybody.
I've done everybody. I've done Billie Eilish. I've done Foo Fighters. I've done
Foo Fighters. That's my group. Foo Fighters.
The Beach Boys. I've done Allison Cooper. I've done everybody. I would say the coolest story was the Foo Fighters, and I'm only talking about that because of Taylor Hawkins that just passed away.
God
rest his soul.
Yeah.
But and that's
great drummer. Amazing drummer. He's probably my favorite. Well, he's in my top 5.
He was such a great guy, though.
Yeah,
I met him and Dave Grohl and all the guys, and I grew up like Nirvana was like my era. You know what I mean? And so, and in fact, Taylor grew up in Laguna Beach, which is 10-minute drive from here. Anyway, but that was my favorite one because of the story of how it happened. I was on a shoot. It was like a 10-day shoot, and it was a festival that we were doing. And I got hired on to be the professional video engineer. And I was engineering some different things at the festival where I was mounting a camera up here and here and here and doing different things. And then they had 3 nights of like different bands that were coming through. And it was like everybody from Foo Fighters to Katy Perry, and it was like, you know, all these big name acts were coming for this big festival, and it was like 80,000 people. It was a big thing. It was in Vegas, and so I was just hired as like the camera tech for the festival. And so we go and we're setting up for Foo Fighters and their director, and I'm already kind of like geeking out because it's Foo Fighters, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, oh, dude, this is gonna be so sick. I'm so stoked, you know. And so I go to their director, who's like their video director, and I'm like, hey, I have these cameras. Most of the acts haven't really used them, but do you guys want them? And they're like, well, we have all our own video gear. And I'm like, okay, so you don't need anything from me. And he's like, no. And he's like, wait, what do you have? And I'm like, well, I have a couple RoboCams. Like, he's like, oh, really? Sick. And I'm like, okay. He's like, actually, yeah. He's like, so I want to mount a RoboCam if we're looking at the stage. Like Taylor Hawkins' drum riser is back here, and his riser in particular is on a hydraulic thing, so it goes up in the air during his solos, and so he gets to play at like 20 feet above everybody. He's like, can we put one of these robos above the drums so you get that top-down shot, and I can do this like circle shot like around him so that when it was cool, it was sick. And I was like, oh yeah, sick, that's a great shot, that'll be really fun. And he's like, well, while the truss is down, let's mount a couple more. So anyway, so we had 3 of my cameras, and I was the operator for those RoboCams in particular. And so I'm like, well, where do you want me to put the operating, the joystick and all the stuff for? And he's like, oh, just put it right next to me. And I'm like, oh, cool. And I'm like, sweet. So I'm sitting right next to the video director, and he's like, then you won't need a headset, and I can just tell you what I want with the shots. I'm like, rad, cool, easy. No big deal. And this guy's kind of like a roadie guy, and he's kind of haggard, and anyway. So we start the show, and it's like all the hits, and I'm like rocking out, and I'm just like, you know, I'm like singing all the songs, verbatim, you know. I love the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, Foo Fighters.
I'm singing all the songs back there while the director's like cutting the show and doing all this fun stuff, and he's asking for my shots. And we get to a slower point in the show, and he looks over and he goes, "You big Foo Fighters fan?" I'm like, yeah. I'm like,
you just geeking out.
I'm like,
it was too obvious, right?
I'm like, dude, heck yeah, I'm a Foo Fighters. And he's like, well, do you want to sit in the seat? And I'm like, no way.
Right.
Freaking out. And so anyway, he lets me come and jump in for like 2 or 3 songs.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm like cutting the songs because I know all the songs. He's like, oh, it's great. He's like, you're doing great. Wow. You know, you're doing great. So I got to direct, you know, for like 2 or 3 songs for the Foo Fighters at this one festival.
Crazy.
Which was cool. It was so sick. I was freaking out.
That's crazy.
Singing all the songs, like directing it how I would direct it, you know, and it was just awesome. And then after we got to meet Dave and all this stuff, he's like, oh, Dave, he directed a couple of songs tonight. He's like, oh yeah, sick, bro. Like doing the whole like,
right.
You know, like sick, bro. Oh, right. You know, like. So it was just awesome. That was just kind of the coolest story because I wasn't supposed to direct it.
Right,
You
of
know,
course.
it was just supposed to be one of the
And it's
camera
classic because now that he's, Taylor's gone, it's part of history. You're part of their history.
Yeah, I
in
mean,
some
in
way.
a really
small way.
But
Hey, I haven't never done it, so
yeah,
it's
it was really
it's
for
important
me.
history.
It was more satisfying than anything else.
absolutely.
It was just fun. So.
What was the least amount? What's the thing that you hate the most about live? If you have to,
The thing that I don't like the most about live, gosh, I love the process of live. I feel like sometimes you just, I mean, in any industry, just incompetent people, or when budgets just get cut, and you're like, how am I supposed to make a good product, which I know how to do, without the right the right tools,
right.
And so I think that's the most frustrating part about it is, and live's not cheap, but filmmaking's not cheap either. It's not cheap. It's not cheap to hire 5-6 guys, all those cameras, a truck, a shader. You're like easy in $5,000 just right out the door. without even a thought. Thinking about it.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't include jibs and like all the fun gear, all that stuff. It's just.
Then you got to feed you guys.
Yeah, they got to feed us. I know, bro. We're not cheap, man. So, but it's fun. I enjoy the whole process. I mean, I enjoy the rehearsals. I enjoy I enjoy it because I know it and I love it and I'm good at it. Mm-hmm. That's why I enjoy it.
So, can you talk about Hillsong yet? No?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so let's talk about this. He's getting ready to go on tour with Hillsong. Chris Tomlin. And what would be your process when you're on the road in terms of how you're going to prepare, what you're going to do, and what's fun about that? What are you going to find fun about being on the road for almost, I guess, a month or two?
I'll be on the road for a month. In fact, Hillsong and Chris Tomlin at the time that we're shooting this are on tour right now. Right. So you're on
the road now, probably.
I'm probably on the road now for people watching.
Right.
And if it's after like August of 2022, I'm already done with it.
Right.
But so I was there in this particular tour. There are 2 legs. There's leg 1, which they're on right now, which I didn't go out with. And I don't know if I should say this or not, but I basically got the call because the video director they have right now is trash.
Okay, we'll take that out.
I don't know his name. I don't know who it is.
Okay.
Well, we'll probably leave it in because I don't know who it is.
He's a straight G.
And so I got a call from Hillsong saying, the guy's trash. Okay. We need you to come out for the second leg.
Gotcha.
And so, but I was supposed to go out on the first leg.
But they chose the
other guy that's trash because.
Gotcha. Of course.
And so they didn't want. And so the thing with video is you're gonna pay the money.
You're gonna pay.
So if you want to create a product, you're gonna either pay the money up front
or in the
or
back.
on the back. You choose.
You choose.
Right. Let's do it right, and we could pay the money to do this project up front and do it right.
Right.
Or you're gonna pay it on the back with someone cleaning up your mess in editing or reshoots or whatever else. And so I always advocate, let's do it right the first time and not do it and not have to clean up the mess on the second side. Anyway, in this tour, so I say all that to say the process of getting ready for this is months of preparation. I mean, obviously, I'm not on the event side, but on the event side, they're booking dates, selling tickets, there's marketing material, promotional material, there's phone. I mean, it's insane what they go through to put these tours on.
Right.
But then when I start to step in, I will get a gear list of like what is going out on the tour with me, and then I will normally go through that with a fine-tooth comb and go, I need a backup camera in case something. I mean, because you're on the road, gear gets trashed on the road.
Absolutely.
And so because you're setting up, doing the show, and packing down night in,
every
night. And so your gear gets trashed. You need backups, you need tools, you need things to fix things. And that's my job, is to engineer it. So I need to know what gear I have and what I have so that if something happens, I can fix it.
Right.
So that's first foremost. I'll get gear list, I'll get, travel plans and all the things. And so we'll go through all that. We'll go through budgets, what my budget is, what the gear budget is, all that kind of stuff. And then I never knew this until I started touring, but dude, like there are full companies that the only thing they do is have a space for tours to come in and build the entire set.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like when you go to a concert, right? And you see the stage and the lights and all that kind of stuff. One, someone designed that in a computer before they went there. But then two, they went to a space. Usually it's like Nashville or Dallas or something like that. So we'll all fly to the space in Nashville and we'll set the whole thing up.
The whole show.
The whole show.
Everything.
The stage, the lighting, the cameras, everything. Everything gets set up and everything gets meticulously gone through for like a week
or two.
A week.
Right.
And then the band will come in and they'll rehearse it and they'll like, oh, I don't like that light shining on me at that moment, or I don't like this, and we just tweak the whole show for a week.
Because they want the whole crew to know this show backwards and forward. In their sleep.
They
want
can do it
them
in
to know
their
this.
sleep. Exactly.
Right.
And so they set the whole thing up. And literally, it's a crazy thing. It's a stage in the middle of a warehouse.
Right.
And the band will come in and rehearse and play, and they'll go through all the lighting cues and all the camera cues, and audio will go through all the PA and sounds and all the things. Everything gets totally dialed.
Right.
So I missed that on this one in particular because I wasn't on the first.
And that's
leg.
why I asked how you going to prepare, because you coming in.
Well, I'll get a gear list, and then I'll offline the conversation with the production director, or they call him the PM, the production manager, and we'll go through and what shots and what's working, what's not, because I'm coming in on the second part of the leg.
Right. And I'm sure you guys will rehearse.
I probably won't. Actually.
Really?
No. They'll do a rehearsal. And they'll do a sound check, and I'll go through the gear on my own.
Right.
And go through with camera operators and talk with them, see what they're liking, what's not working, what is working, talk with the PM. So I'll offline all this, but I wasn't initially in on the official week-long rehearsal.
Right.
But yeah, that's kind of the process.
Wow.
I mean, it's a process.
So you, let me ask you this. So, when did you know that this was going to be the road you take, that was going to basically be the thing that you would call your bread and butter? How did you know that was going to be, considering that you were coming from kind of one sense of...
I was in front of the camera.
Right, you was in front of the camera as a personality, and we're talking to him about coming to CJC. We'll see what happens. But being behind the camera and then knowing that this was going to be something that you was really going to be able to make a living. I mean, you have a beautiful home. So somebody's paying for it. So it's obviously your hard work. How did you know that was going to work for you?
I don't know. I feel like there's two kinds of people. There's those people that are at 14 years old, I knew exactly what I was going to do, went for my dreams and just crushed it.
Right.
And for me, that's just maybe not my personality. Right. I kind of fell into it a little bit. I mean, obviously growing up in the Crouch family with TBN and all that kind of stuff. I mean, people would assume that, you knew production because of your family or because of your parents. And to be real honest with you, my dad and I really didn't do a lot of production together as when I was growing up.
Right. Because he was probably traveling.
He was kind of traveling, doing his thing.
Right. And you're being raised.
And I was in school. Right. You know what I mean? In school, and I was playing sports, actually. I played hockey, high-level hockey.
How did I know hockey?
Hockey, big hockey player.
He loves hockey.
I love hockey.
He loves it.
I went to a game last night,
Yeah,
actually.
I know. I thought it was this morning, but you just posted this morning.
I just posted this morning.
Right.
Anyway, big hockey guy. So I grew up playing hockey, and I just kind of started falling into it. And then I just loved it.
Right.
I loved it. I had done camera and grip and done some of the other things, and I guess for me, I'm kind of a tech nerd anyway. Right. I've always been into tech and nerd stuff and all that kind of stuff, and so the more I got into it, I kind of nerded out on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
so people, do you have an agent?
No,
so
I don't.
I've
dabbled if I should do that, but I've just always been busy enough where I was paying the bills, but it was really just about who you know. I mean,
absolutely.
All about, and the Hillsong tour put me in a different stratosphere where people thought I was legit, which doing a tour is pretty legit. And then,
really legit.
And then, the phone call started just ringing.
Wow.
And it was like, oh, this person talked to this person, or this person found out that you did the tour or whatever. Hey,
so it really wasn't even anything to do with crowds. It was just you.
No, it wasn't really.
Wow, isn't that cool?
It was cool. Yeah, it was great.
That's a cool feeling, isn't it?
It is good. There's a lot of cool feelings like that lately. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of great clients and stuff and film work that I'm doing, and and the people could care less or have no idea who my family is.
Right.
And I'm enjoying that because it actually shows that like I can do real projects without like calling in a favor from grandma and papa, you know what I mean? And so I'm enjoying that season of my life right now. I really am. I'm doing some really cool stuff, shooting a ton of car stuff lately, actually.
Right. You worked for
I did Kia this morning.
Yeah, Kia.
Hyundai shot Hyundai last week. I'm shooting. Have you ever heard of a show or a guy? His name's Ken Block, and he does. They call it Hoonigan,
right?
Where they race these cars through these major cities.
Right.
I'm now shooting like 50% of their content right now.
Oh my god, that's what your dad was telling me that earlier.
Yeah. So dude, shooting cars jumping off buildings. And
that's crazy.
It's insane. It's great.
That's crazy. That's a separate type of crew too, isn't it? That's a separate type of. Or are you shooting? You're not shooting that live, I guess.
No, we're shooting at film stuff. I'm shooting it all on our red.
That's kind of like making a film.
I mean, I'm making.
You're probably doing a lot of slow mo stuff.
I'm making tons of film. I'm making films, and I'm shooting.
You just strike me as a filmmaker to me, director. Like I feel like you're gonna come up with some cool idea one day, and you're just gonna rat it out, man.
Probably.
With a film, a Brandon Crouch film. I just see that coming. So let me get a little dark with you for a second.
I'll call you when that happens.
Please do. I'll produce it.
All right.
So, so I want to ask you a couple things. The last time you were here, so I have to make this known. He's still my number one podcast.
I don't know how is that possible?
I don't know either because I've had some major players even since the last time.
Maybe you haven't had any major players on.
No, I've had some majors.
Okay,
I've had some majors, but for some reason you're still the number one, and it's all your episodes. So that means that it's like concurrent, like number one.
Okay,
it's crazy.
That is.
I don't know. You even beat your dad when he was here the last time.
My dad's coming out with one that's gonna kill up. That's gonna like
when you guys see this one. Yeah, it's just wow.
It's gonna be incredible.
So I want to dab a little bit into adult life, manhood. We were talking about this a little bit earlier about wanting to get married versus if don't want to get married, those type of things. Not to get into your, married situation or whatever, but I'm just curious to know, what did you learn from that particular situation as a man about marriage?
Marriage is hard. I think, oh gosh, there was a thing I posted the other day and I have to bring it up because it was so good. It said, before you get married, discuss bills, parenting styles, credit, debt, religion, how to deal with family, what beliefs will be instilled in your children, childhood traumas, sexual expectations, family health history, mental health history, bucket lists, dream home, career, education, political views, and then it says love is not enough. And I think for me, where I went wrong is that I wanted to get married and I didn't go through the process of dating, if that makes sense. And so when the bumpy road hit, they were major glaring issues that I woulda, coulda, shoulda, avoided had I really dated with intention. And so, but marriage is hard. I mean, it's two people, and I think the thing is people think that I'm going to jump into a marriage and this person's going to complete me or make me happy, and that is, if you're not happy coming into a marriage, I can guarantee you're not going to be happy going in. You know what I mean? If you're coming from a place of hurt and you're like, oh, this person's going to complete me or make me happy or make me feel this way, I can guarantee you that is not going to happen whatsoever.
Right.
And so but where I was in complete error was I wanted my ex to be someone that she wasn't. And I put this expectation on her that was not healthy, and I shouldn't have. And I wasn't like abusive or anything like that, but I was often finding myself frustrated because this person wasn't living up to my expectation, if that makes sense.
I've lived that.
And it was bad for her, for me. Right. I was frustrated, she was hurt. I was frustrated, she was hurt. And so I think, we talked about the thing that I posted on Instagram. I think it was a book that I read that literally changed my whole world was a book called Love and Respect by John Eldredge. And it talks about the Bible verse that says that husbands love your wives and wives are called to respect their husbands, right? And it's a command. Husbands, love your wives. And for wives, it's a command, respect your husbands. Because we all often, when we're in marriage or in relationship, we know that when a man feels hurt, the first thing that he withdraws from his wife or significant other is his love.
Oh man!
And when a woman gets hurt, the first thing that she often withdraws from her man is respect. And this book is so powerful.
What's the name of this book?
It's called Love and Respect by John Eldredge, and it's
Love and Respect.
It's such a great book. It's a biblically based centered book on relationships, on marriage in particular, and
that's good.
And the verse that it covers is so apropos that it is command to love your wife, because God knew that when we have disagreements or arguments, our first initial reaction is to withhold your love from her and withhold her respect for the man.
Right.
And then it talks about the crazy cycle, and it's just this never-ending cycle of hurt, really.
Right.
And that's what happened in my case.
You were married how long?
I was married for 3 years. So, I mean, there are people that are out there that have great marriages and have been through a lot more than what we went through. And then there were mental health issues and just a lot of different things. But I think that if there's any wisdom in any of that, I think the book Love and Respect would probably be the place that I would point people to. So
if you choose to get married again, I'm sure you will at some point, what are you looking for in her? But what are you expecting from you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me to date with intention, I think also... For me, I feel like relationships evolve and go through things, and I think that for me in my next relationship, what I'm looking for is just someone that I admire, respect, and genuinely just like want to have fun with.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I married the hot girl already.
Right.
And I kind of joke. I'm like, well, maybe my next wife's not going to be like a smoke show.
I said the same thing.
And I'm okay with that. I'm like, I just want someone to just hang out with, go do fun things with.
Someone that you really like.
And that you really admire.
Really
and you're like, wow, this person has a great, whatever you admire. For me, it's like, oh, she has a great career. And, she's easygoing. Like, I'm pretty easygoing.
Non-confrontational. That's for me.
Yeah.
I don't like non-confrontational women.
You don't like confrontation.
I don't like confrontation. That's what I mean.
Yeah, someone to come at you all the time. It's like, nobody wants to deal with that. I think one thing it says, if it costs you your peace, it costs too much.
Too much, right.
And for me, it costs me my peace.
Right. Yeah.
And I think in this season right now, I'm enjoying the peace.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
So
it makes a lot of sense. Yes, I'm living where I'm single.
Right. I'm enjoying the peace.
The peace. Yes. What do you think is? Why do you think people are so broken today, though? Because I think that's part of it too. I think that a lot of people want to be that.
Social media.
Yeah.
I mean, really? I don't know. Really? I just think that we live in a. I don't know. Why are people so broken?
I smell coffee.
I have some good coffee back there, but
okay.
I don't know, man. Why are people so broken? I mean,
meaning it feels like I'm not judging in any way. Trust me, but it just feels like it's more. it's almost like you have to unpack the baggage first with people, with women, especially in dating right now. And then once you get past that part, it's like, is it really worth that much work to even get to the crust of things? And it seems like it's just harder to get to the crust of who people really are, because people are not their baggage.
No, they're not. They're not. And I think that the reality is everyone has issues.
Right.
It's just, what issues do you want to deal with? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I have issues.
Right.
Everybody has issues, and so
What's your issues, Brandon?
My table is not clean enough. That's my issue. I'm a weird.
You have OCD?
Not
ECD. What
I don't even know if it's OCD. I just like things clean. You know.
Yeah, I'm the same way though.
So
I'm the same way.
Anyway, I don't know, man. I think we live in a crazy society. If we're gonna just be like the simplest answer is just the devil. There's sin in the world. The world is broken. It's getting worse. You know, the devil is out to kill, steal, and destroy.
Right.
And I think
you believe in the devil.
I believe 100% that there is evil in the world.
Yeah,
100%.
Now that I do believe. Yes.
And I believe that, you know, we call it the devil, call it evil, whatever you want to label it as. I just believe that there is evil in the world, and that he or it or whatever it is out to destroy people's lives.
Absolutely.
I mean, you see it with mental health.
Absolutely.
You see it with anxiety.
Absolutely.
I mean, kids now are dealing with anxiety at such a young age, and it's sad. It's heartbreaking. I don't struggle with anxiety really, and I don't struggle with like mental health issues.
Right.
With my son, it's hard because his mom struggles with those issues, and it's hard for me because I want to help him, but there's nothing that you can do to help him. You know, and I love my son dearly. So I guess for me, like, I just love him harder. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm there more. I'm like, you know, I see a lot of parents who are just so absent.
Right.
From their own lives and their kids' lives.
Right.
Whether they're physically there, they're on their phone, they're on their this, they're on this. And I'm not perfect at that, but I'm intentional about being there with him.
Me too.
And, you know, I don't know. You just got to walk it out one day at a time with him. Right. You know, some days are great and some days aren't. And, you know, he struggles for sure with, you know, emotional anxiety and
does it come, do you think it comes from separation, or you think it just personal, you don't want to get into it? But I'm just asking, is it
I don't know.
From the relationship, marriage stuff?
All of the above.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Right.
I really don't. I don't have an answer for that, but I think that it's just all of it.
Right. How do you connect that with your faith? How does faith help you through these moments?
Just the blood of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I just pray the blood, the healing blood that was written in Isaiah 53, that he was bruised for our transgressions. Right. And I just pray the blood over him, over his mind, that Christ would just give him peace. Right. And give him strength, and over my whole family, my house,
It's very peaceful here too.
I love this house.
Yes, I love this house too. I got me a room that I'm sure.
I'm sure. I'm kicking you out.
I know exactly. He was like, man, he's kicking me out right now. He's hinting. He's like, let me know when we say cut. You out of here, sucker.
No.
So, what are the things that you plan to do in the future? What is the plans for Brandon Crouch? What are your plans?
I love what I'm doing right now. I really do. I'm having a blast. I was actually, I didn't tell you this. I was going to tell you this. It's a cool story. I grew up, my dad, he told it in his interview, but my dad, when I was 0 to 16 or 17, my dad owned his own production company called PJ Video. And so people think I grew up on TVN sets, but I actually grew up on like commercial sets with my dad.
So more mainstream.
So I grew up on like Disneyland commercials and Toyota commercials and all these crazy things that he was shooting. And he was running his company out of our house, out of our garage. And I remember, you know, little funny things where I'd take his camera and think it was a water spout and pour water into the camera eye lens. He was so mad. He was so mad. I'm a 3-year-old and I'm dragging his camera behind me, and then I take the water hose thinking the eyepiece is, you know, whatever, and I'm putting water in the eyepiece of his camera, right? So mad. So I grew up on sets with him doing that, and you know, in high school you start to kind of like understand what your dad does and idolize him a little bit, and then I started gripping for some of his shoots, and I was free labor for him to come out and do stuff on the shoots, which is what you do with your kids. I'm going to do it with my kid, and so then when I was about to graduate high school, he kind of told the family, he was like, hey, my grandfather, Paul Crouch Sr., asked me to come back, and I'm going to go back full time and help him build this network and kind of do this with him. And low key, I was not angry, but I was kind of bummed. And the reason why I was bummed, because I wanted my dad to give me the production company at some point.
Okay, right.
You know what I mean? Like where I would work.
That makes sense.
I would work with him at the production company. Right, because that's what you knew. And that's what I knew, because I didn't know anything about TV. Nothing. I just knew my grandparents were Paul and Jan. That was it. Right. Later on, to fast forward, I grow up, go to college, learn about TBN, start working for TBN, doing the shows with TBN, doing the social media for TBN. And then the dream is like, okay, well, we can, you know, I never wanted to take over TBN. It was more just like, well, I love doing this with my dad. I love doing it with my grandparents. This is cool. We're having fun. I love doing the social media. I love hosting the shows. Like, I didn't know what the future was going to hold. Obviously, you know, fast forward to 2007, 8, and TBN blows up in front of my face. Right. And the whole thing comes crumbling down. Right. I'm never invited back. Don't ever come and see TBN. I don't see Paul and Jan, which is a story in and of itself. Fast forward a little bit beyond that, Dad and I kind of look at each other and say, well, like, we both don't have jobs now. Right. What do we want to do? Right. And so we just started doing production together. And he called me and he said, hey, I have a client that I'm shooting a product for, and can you learn how to edit so I can pay you to edit this video? Right. So I went on like lynda.com and just put like 40 hours into learning how to edit. But we start working together. We start doing productions together. He starts shooting. And initially it was like all Dad. He had a couple of clients that we were doing work for, ministry stuff, and I was basically just editing stuff for him. Right. So I was working for him and with him. This thing snowballs. We restart, and we didn't even really intentionally mean to restart PJ Video. It was not like it's something we set out to do. Right. It was like we were working and making money, and then it was like, oh, well, we're making money, so we have to set up an account for it. What do we set the account up? And it was just like the next thing, one step. And then it turned into PJ Video LLC, and we were an S corporation, and we were making X amount of dollars, and we were doing, and just these steps.
Taking the steps.
And the next thing I look back, we're 10 years into this, or like 8 or 9 years into this production company. And it's a full thing. Wow. And we're now 50-50 owners. Right. We're doing it together. Right. He's shooting. I have my whole set of own clients. He has his clients. We kind of interact here and there. Right. And it didn't hit me until like a couple years ago. And I looked back and I go, what's so funny is this is what I originally asked for. Right. This is what I wanted.
That's powerful.
This is what I asked for before TBN. Wow. This is what my heart longed for when I was a kid. Right. And I just like, it hit me like a weight. Right. And I was like, wow, God.
Right. He answered the prayer.
What? Right. How? Like, just, I was so floored. Wow. And so he said it a couple times in his podcast, but be careful what you ask for. Yeah. And that was my heart's desire, was to do a production company with my dad. Right. And I didn't even realize it as we were building. It didn't
even register.
It just totally didn't even register. Wow. And now I'm like loving what I do. Right. And it's him and I, and there's low overhead, and we make great money, and everything's awesome. Right. Career-wise. Right. And it was like the thing that I had longed for when I was a kid. Wow. And I totally forgot about it.
Wow. That's
totally forgot about it.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
it was cool. So
that's cool, man. Thank you, brother. Thank you for letting me come to the house.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
And until next time, you guys be blessed. Peace.
See ya.